So a few of your students have asked me how to get green tracks, and I got to tell you that there is a huge difference in the color of the tracks. You might be in a situation where you actually have all the tracks are green, but when you create the solution, the camera either will be a weak camera, which means if you follow the mouse on the screen, you're going to have some yellow reoccurring on the timeline, or also you might have some red, and that means that the solution had failed. It is okay to have some yellow and red in the trackers while you create the 2D trackers, but you definitely cannot have red in the solution, or yellow for that matter. Now, in this video, I'm going to show the footage that we've been working on since week 2, but I will also show you different type of footage and how to get some good trackers. In general, when I do tracking, either for my own use or other projects, if either in production pipeline or not, I always observe the footage first. Always look at the footage. You study the footage, you learn the footage, you see what kind of trackers are available, what kind of trackers might give you some grief. So what I do, I usually take my footage and I start it from the back. What it means that I'm actually going to track backwards. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to zoom into this footage, and I'm going to put about 3 trackers in here. Now notice what I'm doing. The first thing I'm doing is right click, new track, and I always grab the corner. I always look at the corner right there. Now the tracker, the pattern area, if you read in the anatomy of a 2D tracker, the pattern area covers about the whole post-it note that we have in the footage. But if you think about it, I also have the same distance from the 3 outer directions of the post-it note. It means that the post-it note covers about a quarter of my pattern area. And then I also can change a little bit my search area. And the search area, to remind you, is if the pattern area get lost, I have the extra pixels in the search area that allow me to look back and see where I can find the same pattern. I always put the tracker on the corner, always on the corner, not in the middle, not in other places, next to it. I always try to make the tracker, the crosshairs of the tracker, to be in the corner. If you follow the mouse on the screen and you look here, notice where my crosshairs are, right on the corner of the post-it notes. And then right click, track backwards. And there you go. You got a green track. Now, not only that, sometimes because we get some noise, especially in this footage where we have a little bit of grain and noise on the JPEG, what I do is I move my footage all the way to the start and grab the tracker and make sure that it is still on the corner. And it still covers about a quarter of my pattern area. Not every time we will be able to get the quarter of the pattern area. In this case specifically, we can do that due to the size of the post-it notes. So now that I have an intermediate keyframe in the beginning, and we started off with the intermediate key when we laid down the tracker, I can create a bidirectional tracker. There. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to show you, I'm going to put 2 more trackers right there, and I'm going to continue from there. Okay, so now, excuse me, now we have 3 trackers that I try my best to have them resemble at least two axes. I have the y-axis, if I can imagine a line going from track 3 to track 2. And I can also have an x-axis from track 2 to track 1. In this footage, we also have certain trackers that disappear. And we also have trackers that the corner that we might think are a good corner to track might be actually something that will throw off our camera solution. For example, if I look at this post-it note on the box, I might be able to track it without any problems, but my fear is that because this corner is more exposed to the background, it means it may parallax with the background, then this tracker might record bad information. So in this case, I would rather find a corner that is away from the background, even though it's, you know, it's somewhat blue on blue. There shouldn't be any kind of a problem, but, you know, I'm not taking any chances. Same thing with here. I might want to track this one if I get a weak solution or some sort of a track that, you know, goes away from the corner. Now what happens if a track goes away from the corner? Then I stop the tracking and I let it retract. And I snap it back into place and I let it retract. So the footage is also at the end, and notice that this post-it note disappears. It actually leaves the edges of the frame right there. But before I deal with this post-it note, what I'm going to do is I'm going to track this guy right there. So let me just zoom in a little bit into it. The short keys to zoom in and pan on a Mac, it's Option and left mouse button key will let me pan. Command and Option key will let me zoom in and out. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put here a new tracker, new track, and I'm going to try to make it probably smaller than what it's supposed to do. And just a rule of thumb is if you have a really big tracker, it's going to take the computer more time to calculate because it has a bigger pattern area, and a bigger pattern area means more pixels that needs to be followed. So I've put my tracker somewhere here really close to the corner, not this corner, because otherwise it will jump all over the place, but really close to this corner, the corner of the post-it note. Let me just make sure that I got it right. Yep. And I'm going to track backwards. You can see I get everything green. And because there is, oops, you see what happened to my tracker? See how it jumped from that corner? So I'm going to have to take it, snap it back into place. And that is because this can be considered a T-junction. Now, in the module it said the T-junctions are not a good place to start with, but you know, in here we might not even have a choice. And then I'm gonna use a bidirectional tracker. Now, I also follow the tracker. I'm also following the tracker, making sure it stays true to that corner. And so far, okay, here we might have an issue where it slides. So I can take the tracker and snap it back into place. This will automatically create another keyframe, another intermediate keyframe, and now I can go ahead and do the bidirectional tracking. And that's more like it. Okay, let's deal with the tracker that disappears. Now, some of you probably got an empty keyframe like that. This is where the software simulates where the tracker should go. Sometimes the quality of the footage is pretty low, and that causes the software to speculate what is the next step. So I'm gonna zoom in here. And I'm going to put a new tracker on this corner. Right there. I'm going to change my pattern area. I'm going to try to, you know, stay away from the background as much as I can on this guy. You can change the search area. Track forward because my timeline is on 0, and now matchmove is telling me that I got a problem, that the track point is leaving the image. So I'm gonna slide it all the way to the point where before it disappears, and I'm gonna tell matchmove, you know what? I'm gonna set here a key as an end key. That tells matchmove as soon as I have an end key from this point forward, this tracker does not calculate the camera solution. So I'm going to pause here and I'm going to record another video. And I'll see you in the next video.